fees back here. But what about moving adjusting the things, the financials back the way they were?
If Tim could do it without killing himself and the other members agree on that, I'd be fine with
I
that.
mean, that's up to the Board of Selectmen.
It's the Board of Selectmen decision.
The Board of Selectmen, that's not mine.
No, I'm just saying,
You
I'm
guys
just
would have
saying,
to take
I'm
this.
just saying that I don't want to kill him because he's got a deadline to put the warrant together. And if it's impractical to do, or what you're telling me it's practical to do,
No, what I'm saying is that it's the decision of the Board of Selectmen where the articles are. Right now, the only warrant that is put together is the warrant that, the draft warrant that Lucy has in her hands right now. And that is numbered the same way that the roll-up sheet is numbered. With that, there is another document that I have to compile with all the Finance Committee recommendations that goes into the book, and I can't touch that until that document's done.
okay, so for the Board of Selectmen, do we want to move the planning board articles?
He's fine with the order that we have it.
In order?
You had requested to move article.
Let me finish with the planning board articles. Does anybody on the Board of Selectmen want to move the planning board articles as requested by the Finance Committee and Capital? 1, 2, 3. Peter?
No.
Okay. How about moving the free cash article
But
as,
before, I would like to
Yes.
understand from Bob or somebody else on the finance committee, why it is so critical to move it up.
It's the order it's been, I mean,
I know.
so why change, so why is it critical, why did you change it? I mean, I heard one reason that had nothing to do with what you did, that had no validity.
Well, no, I think it was trying to follow the logic of how we handle free cash. And then there was.
Okay, so,
a
right,
decision on free
so
cash.
you were saying you want to move it because you thought then the capital fund would then be there, and it would be going to capital fund instead of stabilization, which would be a different
It would
motion.
go in a majority vote instead of a two-thirds. If you're gonna use free cash, use sprinkle reserve fund or.
So it goes to
investment fund.
stabilization as a majority vote.
Yeah, and it comes out as a two-thirds. If you're
Right,
gonna
but then
move
same
that
thing would happen.
stabilization to capital, stabilization is two-thirds.
Correct.
So why don't you do it, why don't you do your final warehousing of free cash last? You do it.
So what you're saying, so then you're changing it also, you're moving it all the way to the end.
Well, moving it to,
After
no,
the- or
moving
no,
it
after
to, where it is, 11, after the.
After creation of the funding.
So tell me how that changes anything. So, all right, so now we've created a capital fund. Let's
Right,
assume
and
that
you
passes.
said- right.
Scenario 1, capital fund passes.
Yeah.
We have a warrant to move it to stabilization. So what are you expecting us to do? Change that warrant on the floor to move it to capital or leave it at stabilization? Okay, so what do we do in Article 11 then, if the capital passes?
No, it still goes from free cash to stabilization.
Okay,
Slow down. If you want to place anything in free cash into any of the prior articles from 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, okay? It's a majority vote from free cash to those locations.
so
If you
that's
do
the omnibus budget.
If out of the box, you have omnibus budget, you've got reserve fund, you've got capital stabilization investment fund, and initial funding, right? So if you're going to throw free cash into there, you only need a majority vote to get it there.
Okay.
If the first thing you throw it at is stabilization, it now comes out only at two-thirds.
That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Are you trying to get everything funded?
Yeah, we were
So
recommending
if you
everything.
can't muster two-thirds.
I'm not trying to
vote,
manipulate the town
No,
either.
no, if you're trying to,
Are you asking that we manipulate the town so that we only ask for 0.5% instead of 2/3 of the people? I mean, do we have but Tim, here's the deal, Tim, none of the capital items will still be all 2/3.
right. So
So
what's the problem?
what do you think is gonna be half?
But here's the question, what's the validity of having it before omnibus?
No, it's always been where it is, I'm asking why you're moving it.
Okay, well,
Because
here's
it's a
the-
last year event.
It is really a last
Free
year.
cash from June 30th of '09.
I-
That's why it goes there. The closeout warrant articles comes before that, because that's even older.
So explain to me again what we're gonna do. We get to Article 11, everything's gone through as planned, what do you think is gonna be different after that before?
People will know then, oh, that's what free cash is. That's good, because we just discussed it on Article 10. It's not, there isn't
Well, we
some-
discussed in Article
We've already
10.
confused the people by moving the
Right.
planning board articles. So, okay, now we're going to further confuse them by rearranging the way the
I mean,
article.
you're manipulating, I mean, you're changing the whole thing, I mean, my deal. Okay, so I believe it's going to be more confusing because what you're going to do is you're going to basically, so free cash this year is going to operate under the standard, the regular policy. It's not going to be operated under the new policy because it can't, because the new policy doesn't exist yet. So free cash, last year's free cash, to me, needs to follow the existing policy that's in place right now, which is why it would happen before.
Are you nervous about questions that are going to come up about why are we putting all this free cash in?
I'm not nervous, I'm asking why you're changing your draft.
Because I mean, I really read it as the logic of walking
Okay.
through the various articles and how they tie together.
So I guess I understand a little bit about that, but I guess it's just the order of where it plays. So this year's free cash will not be operating under that recommended bylaw change. Because that wouldn't take place until next year's free cash.
Could I make a suggestion here?
Please.
You know, we consider ourselves a roundtable tribe. And in the past, we've had discussions where we've all agreed upon a certain procedure.
Right.
And whether it's the budget process, the guidelines, whatever. So what I would actually ask the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, is this something that all three boards at the table today could decide?
It's the prerogative of the Board of Selectmen to select the orders. But I would feel uncomfortable about changing a longstanding practice and going against the Finance Committee on this. I would base my decision on what the Finance Committee recommends to me and what the past practice has been, that has been successful. So that's where I stand on it. It's up to the other. Given that the order is determined by the Board of Selectmen, it's up to all five of us to determine what it is. So we can beat this thing to death right now, or we can just say how many people, I would ask how many of my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen support moving the article as requested by the.
Before you get there, shouldn't you ask the tribe?
You're right, Keith, I am sorry. I am sorry for missing that.
Where you would like it?
Well, okay, so where it is every year, certified free cash is just before omnibus.
Just before omnibus?
Yes,
Okay.
because that is the order of it.
Okay.
After it's
So you want it
closed.
to go before omnibus and after you close out of articles, is that right?
Yep, number 3.
Well, not number 3. Tell me on this thing here. You want after the close out of articles and before omnibus, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so between 5 and 6.
Okay.